So I'm Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I'm thrilled to be here this morning. Some of you know I left after service last week and went for a minister's retreat. And we had just gone on a retreat. There was a group of us, about 11 of us, that went on a retreat to Big Sky. We cut our trip short because the hurricane was coming. So we went from this mountaintop amazing experience and got dropped, boom, right into the swirl of a storm. So needless to say, I was a little, what's the word? Discombobulated, disoriented. I didn't quite come back feeling that restful, like, ooh, I'm so excited to get back into life. I wasn't feeling that. So I spent this week with a group of ministers. There's maybe 120 of us or so in Asheville, North Carolina. And it was just phenomenal. And I am filled and now I'm overflowing, and so glad to be home, so glad to share with you and see my spiritual family and spend this time with you. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited to be here.
Yes.
Always my intention is that you leave here with something that you feel like, that was just for me. And it gives you that lift that you need to get through the week and just make your week and your life and your relationships and all of that stuff better. So everybody up for that?
Yes. Yes.
Phenomenal. All right, so we are talking today, the title of my talk is Safe in Spirit. It centers for our visitors, I will let you know that what we're doing this year as Centers for Spiritual Living is that every month we talk about a different one of our values. So 12 different values, 12 months. The value for this month is safety. This is something that is very important to us as an organization. It is personally important to me. I think it is vital. I think it is vital. When I started coming to Centers for Spiritual Living, it was right here about 14 years ago. When was the last time 3 hurricanes whipped through our area? 2004. It was right around that time that I found this teaching. And my own life was swirling and crazy, and the bottom fell out. It was just that's a talk for a different day. However, I know that if it wasn't for the safety of this space and the safety that I felt in Reverend Peggy, that I would not have begun my own healing journey. And I wouldn't be standing here before you. So safety is one of those bedrock things. People have to feel safe when they come into this space. It is absolutely necessary. That is how we heal. That is how we grow. That is how we move forward. So we're talking about safety. And this is what the organization says. This is the value from CSL. We create a community-wide climate conducive to honest reflection and deep and direct communication. The concept of safety in spiritual terms rests on the understanding of spirit as being everywhere present. That's bedrock to what we teach, right? God is all there is. Now, other religions teach that as well. But somehow there's something lost in translation, because there's belief that yes, there is God and God is all there is, but there's also this thing we call evil. And so somehow that doesn't quite gel. Either God is all there is, or there's God and the devil. We believe that God is all there is, period. Okay, so in spiritual terms, spirit is everywhere present. And understanding that and feeling that and really embodying that is what allows us to, it reduces that feeling of stress and of pain and of difficulty, and allows us to feel like we really belong in this world. Like we are here for a reason. And then in that feeling of safety, we can give our gifts. So I'm going to recap just a little bit from last week what I talked about. I'm going through different aspects of safety. So I spoke mainly about psychological safety, that feeling of being safe from an emotional perspective as opposed to a spiritual. We're going to move more into the spiritual today. But last week we talked about this. How many of you have seen this? If you've been here, if you've been coming here, you've seen this, because I love Maslow. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It pulls together about a half dozen different psychological theories of how we grow and develop. And I love this one because it's just so simple. It's really very clear to understand. At the bottom of this pyramid, each and every one of us share needs as human beings, physiological needs. And you know, if you've ever been sick, how important it is to maybe have a bathroom close by, right? Or to be able to sleep for a full night. When those things are taken away from you, it becomes very apparent to us. what is important. When you lose electricity or you lose water, right, during a storm, you realize how important these things are. So at the bottom of this pyramid, we need clean air, we need food, we need water, we need shelter, we need sleep, and we need sex too. By the way, we wouldn't be around. None of us would be around if it wasn't for that urge to procreate. Those are the things that we share with all creatures, right? All living things, we share that. Then you go up the next level. Once those things have been satisfied, then you may be sleeping under a bridge. There's shelter, right? You're not going to be in the rain. But is that security? Right? You sleeping on somebody's couch? That's not security. That's not your own place. So we all then have this need to feel secure, to feel that we are healthy, that we have employment, that we have some kind of social stability. When those needs are met, you move on to the next thing, because it's not just about safety and security. Then you move into love and belonging. And from there, once your needs for love and belonging, I am part of a group, I matter, people care about me, that builds your self-esteem. Right? Then you have that self-confidence. And then achievement becomes important, having the respect of other people. Right? From there, we move into the next level, which is what Maslow called self-actualization. Self-actualization is when you are being all that you can be. When you know what your gifts are, you are using them, you are loving life, you are, I don't know if you can read this, it says it's where morality resides, creativity, spontaneity, acceptance. We feel a sense of purpose and meaning and inner potential. All of those things. Be all you can be. Now, what Maslow said, and I've always loved this quote, I think of the self-actualizing man not as an ordinary man with something added, but rather as the ordinary man with nothing taken away. And I've always loved that quote. And I used it last week. And I was thinking about it this week, and I realized, I'm not sure I don't really agree with that anymore. And so I rewrote it. This is my quote. I think of the self-actualizing man not as an ordinary man with nothing taken away, but rather as an ordinary man who has released the pain, the drama, the story, the sense of unworthiness. Anybody else want to add to that? All those things, the fear, right? All of those things that have been added unto us. When we come into this world, and there are lots of children, right? If you can remember what it was like when you were a child before something told you there was something wrong with you. Before you got that message, right? When you were a brand new baby and you were open to the world and you could do anything and you could be anything, we all have that self-actualization is who we are in potentiality. It is who each and every one of us comes here with gifts, with talents, with abilities, with a drive to use those gifts, to be all that we can be. And then, boom, life happens. You get this idea that there's something wrong with you. Somehow you're unworthy, or you're not safe, or it's a bad, scary place out in that world. So what we are here to do, and what the spiritual path is all about, is releasing all of that stuff, all of that gunk, all of that junk, so that you can shine forth who it is you really are. It's not to change you into something different. It is to allow you to be and to blossom what is really within you, what is wanting to come forth in you. And that's what we're here to do. That's what the path is about. So that's why I changed that. I like that better. We're ordinary, all of us, ordinary people. Self-actualized just means letting go of all that stuff that no longer serves us. Wouldn't it be nice if it was just as easy as taking off a garment? It would be wonderful. But no, it's somehow we come in perfect, and then something happens, and then we spend years and years kind of reminding us ourselves of that perfection. So self-actualization is that desire to experience ever deeper fulfillment by realizing or actualizing more and more of our potential. Now, where self-actualization, let me go back to that. I should have, do we have a pointer in here? At any rate, if you look at all these other things, physiological needs, it says needs, right? Security, safety and security, love and belonging, self-esteem. Those are needs that comes from a sense of there's something missing and we have to go out there and seek it. When you get into self-actualization, you're not spurred anymore from feeling like there's something missing, but from feeling like I am full and overflowing and I want to give. It is a feeling that we are moved by wanting to grow and to expand, not that we're trying to fill our brokenness. Is that, yes. Did I explain that, Carolina? Okay. So, for much of Maslow's career, that was kind of the top. It seemed like it was the apex. But before he passed, he got to thinking, it seems like there is something else here. And he called it self-transcendence. And what self-transcendence is, right? To transcend means to go beyond. So self-transcendence is going beyond the limits of the ego and what we think is possible. In other words, it's no longer just about me. I have these gifts so that I can share them and use them with other people. That's where self-transcendence comes in. It refers to the very highest, most inclusive or holistic levels of human consciousness. So in psychological terms, to me, that is another way to say God, spirit, consciousness, to be the essence of all that is, right? To experience that oneness, that holiness, that knowing, that sense of power, the presence, the awareness that God is all there is, and to live from that space. And it is actually self-transcendence is the path to self-actualization. That's how we get to self-actualization, is by using our gifts. It is by stepping outside of our own ego and what's in it for me. See, because if your end game is to have that sense of creativity and whatever, like that's all it is, it's just for you, it's a selfish thing, you're never going to get there. You're not going to get there. You have to go beyond, it's all about me, into what can I give the world? What am I here to give to my family, to my neighborhood, to my community? And then the other stuff is added onto you. Okay, so self-transcendence, that is where, it's our number one value. Spiritual growth and practice. That's what we're about here at Oak Brook Center for Spiritual Living. Right, is to have that experience of transcendence, so that we can be all that we can be and give the world our gifts. Go back. So I'm going to talk about this idea of feeling safe in spirit and what that is, because we can talk about this all day. It doesn't mean you're going to feel it. You can know it in your head. It's another thing for you to feel it in your heart that, yes, I am part of that oneness. I am part of this thing that has always been and always will be, that is here now, ever present, always in the now moment. It's another thing to actually feel that. So I want to share with you some of my experiences during the retreat this past week that I feel like illustrate my ideas of how do we get ourselves to feel it, to go from your head knowing of, yes, I'm safe because God is all there is, and I am part of that. In your head, you can say that different thing to feel it, yes? Yes. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So one of the keys that I believe, and this came up in breakout sessions and workshop after workshop after workshop, is this idea of reframing. Reframing. How many of you have heard that phrase or are familiar with that idea? And some of you don't. Wonderful. So let me tell you what reframing is. If we take that picture frame, and you see how cool it is? It is, I don't think it's a photoshopped picture. I think it's where she's standing in the road and how they put the frame around her. If you took that frame and you moved it, would it change the picture? Of course it would. Of course it would. It might not be as cool looking as this one, but it could be prettier, it could be any number of things, right? You get to decide as you put the frame around it. This is what we do with our lives, right? We have things that happen. We get a snapshot. Something happens to you in your life, and you have a snapshot of what that was and what that situation meant. So you basically have put that thing into a frame. Now, if you could somehow remove that frame and move it and get another perspective, you would see something else. you would see something else. It's like the analogy of the elephant that I use all the time, right? It's the exact same idea. The monks, there's 6 blind monks, or however many blind monks there are, and they're led outside to touch an elephant. And one of them is touching the foot, the leg, and he says, he's asked to describe the elephant, and he says, an elephant is like a pillar. Well, then the other one is touching the side of the elephant, and he says, no, an elephant's like a wall. What are you talking about? The other guy's touching the ear, and he says, no, an elephant is like a fan, and on and on and on. They're all right, yes? Mm-hmm. Would you agree? Yes. They're all right. No one is lying. Even though they're seeing very, very different things, they are seeing things from their particular perspective, from their frame. So what I learned, and I have done this for years and years, I finally got a way to frame some new things this week, which was really cool because it went so well with this. So what we do in reframing is we take a situation and you change the way you look at it, right? Because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Ernest Holmes said, change your thinking, change your life. Okay, so I will, one of the workshops we had, a breakout session, was around finances. What kinds of things, just yell them out, did you hear about money growing up?
The root of all evil.
Money's the root of all evil.
Never enough.
Money doesn't grow on trees. There's never enough money. Anything else?
Can't afford it.
You can't afford it, right? We all heard these men, be happy with what you have.
A half loaf is better than a full loaf.
Really? I hadn't heard that one. We all had these stories. Now, do they serve us well?
Not now.
Do they speak of a universe that is abundant, where you can have anything you need or want? It is all there.
Nope.
That doesn't speak to any of that. And we all carry that stuff. So I have one that some of you may share. My parents were very young when they married and when I was born. So, about 20 years old. And by the time my mom was 30, my mom and dad were 30, they had my brother and I, and plus 4 foster kids. So 6 kids altogether. And I heard, I'm not sure how many times, but I'm sure it was more than one occasion. And it may not have been that many, but it was one of those things that leaves a mark. When mom said, we can't have nice things. You kids ruin everything. Ooh, that hurt, and that stung for a long time. So I went out, and again, I don't take this wrong. I don't blame my mom at all. Now that I have had children and grandchildren, I understand 6 kids. Hello. 6 unruly children. She didn't raise all these kids herself, When we got the one foster kid that got to our house, the day she got there, ran up into the apple tree, and my dad said, Marianne, come on down from the tree with the family, come be with the family. And she said, F you. But she said it all out. And I thought, I'm 9 years old, right? Who is this monster that has just been invited into my home? So, it was not easy. It was not easy taking care of all these kids. So that was what my mom said. And I can remember being with my dad at the department store. He'd buying me the Barbie watch that I wanted and had coveted and imagined and all that stuff. Get my Barbie watch. It's in a little brown paper bag and the end is folded over. And I'm so excited. I'm holding my watch and going all over the store with my watch. And I'm carrying it. And we're getting ready to walk out the door. And I look down and the watch is gone. I'm still carrying the bag, but the watch is gone. And Dad says, yeah, you lost it, sorry. Maybe he didn't have the money to buy another one or whatever it was. I didn't get another watch that day. And I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. So I'm looking at these lessons. How do you reframe this stuff? Is there something good? Well, that's what we're to do. That's what reframing is about, is to look for the blessing in everything. And what I realized out of that experience of we can't have nice things, losing the watch, which by the way, they did buy me another one. And I still have it. I was going to wear it today as a prop, but the little clasp doesn't work. So anyway, what's the upside of that? Is there an upside to that? And I discovered there is an upside to that for me. Because you see, I don't have any attachment to stuff. I really don't. Some people want diamonds and they want fur, they want this fancy stuff. I don't care about any of that. I really don't. During the storm, I was looking around at my house thinking, what things would I put in a bag? What's vitally important to me, right? What are my treasures? And I looked and I thought, I just lived out of a suitcase for 2 weeks. A little carry-on bag. I really don't need any of this stuff. I need my family, yes, my children, my family, my pets, my loved ones. I have attachments to that, I absolutely do. I have no attachment to the other stuff. When we moved out of our house, the house we raised our kids in, I was like, see ya, I'm on to the next thing. So I think for me, that feels like a gift. That feels like a gift. Even though it was a little kind of traumatic at the time, there was good in it for me. There was good in it. You can look at any situation, and there were lots. We got lots and lots of examples throughout the retreat. But I invite you to think about your own things that maybe you've looked at and thought, boy, that was a real detriment, or that really hurt, or somehow that thing that happened broke me, and I may never be whole again. Just look at that situation from another frame, from another perspective, and find the gift. There is always a gift, because what you look for, you will find. So reframing, look for the blessing in all situations. The next thing that you can do to feel safe, well, let me go back to that other one. Let me go back again. What happens when you reframe and you find the gift, then you realize that, again, God is really for me. I may have thought that spirit was against me, or that life is against me, or, again, I'm never going to be whole. But when you look for the gift, you feel that sense of restoration. Like, wow, I really did get a lot out of that. I really am strong. I really am resourceful. I really am capable. And all of those are gifts of spirit. Okay? So to wrap that piece up. Okay, so the next piece of being safe in spirit is to reach out. Is to reach out. To not be afraid to say when you're afraid. Right, to be able to reach out to others in the spiritual community. Now this picture was taken this week, and what this was a fire walk. Anybody here ever done a fire walk? Woohoo! Jesse Miller did a fire walk. Jesse Miller and I, right around that same time, when the bottom of my life fell out back in 2003, 2004, was it 2000? Somewhere around there. Maybe it was a couple of years after that. Jesse Miller and I did a fire walk. We went to see Edwin Gaines, who lives in Alabama somewhere, foothills of the Smokies, and we had this incredible experience of walking on fire. Not just once, 3 times. 3 times. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Yeah. Sounds crazy. So I had done it, out of my system. Go to Asheville this week, and it's one of the big events. And there's, again, about 120 ministers, and hardly any of them had done this. There was maybe a handful of people that actually did the fire walk. And if you want to hear really funny, it's funny and it's metaphysical and just a great little talk, about 15 minutes. Ken Gordon, our spiritual leader at Asheville, speaking about his fire walk experience this week. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But walking fire has a lot of metaphors in it. A lot of metaphors for life. Oh, by the way, I did it again. I walked on fire. There's something that happens to you when you do something that is supposed to be physically impossible, and you do it, things shift. Right? You say, if I can do this, and let me tell you, the fire was probably the length of this platform here, from one end to the other. And you have that sense of, I can do anything. I can do anything. So here we are building the fire. Here we are building the fire. And that actually is me right there. The one in white over there is Dr. John Waterhouse. I found this great quote from Ernest Holmes. It says, "Love is the only final security in the universe. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe and the only thing that binds people together in a community of spirit." That's what that fire walk was about. It was about it was about a community. It was about spiritual community. Again, I had done it already, so I didn't have all the fear and stuff that so many other people did. Dr. John prepped us very well. we went out there and we built that fire. We each put a piece of wood in the fire, and then they put the hay and they put the accelerant. He wanted us to experience what it felt like when it was hot. And it was hot, let me tell you. It just blew up. We're practically, there's a little creek right close by. Everybody's kind of running to the creek to just cool off a little bit. It was legit, it was a hot fire. It was legit. So we're starting here on this end. Dr. John is over on the other end, and as I said, he prepared us very, very well. And you have to be prepared well, because you have to trust and you have to feel safe in that environment, or you're not going to do it. Right? So here he is in his white flowing outfits with open arms for everybody that did it. It was amazing, and what was so different for me in this experience was being a support for everyone else, being a support for the people who were afraid, and there was a lot of fear. And again, these are all ministers, and this is why we get together in our little community, because some people did things and shared things that they might not share in front of their spiritual community, where they're expected to be the one, right, who's holding everyone else up. So we had one minister who had worked in the restaurant industry and been burned many times. And she was terrified. I'm talking tears and tears. And she came up to the end of that, to where it started, and actually backed away. So I'm not doing this. And John raked the coals, so they were nice and red again, so she could get up and do it again. And she did it. And she did it. And she said while she stood there, she was looking at this fire, and she was thinking, if I let fear dictate what I'm going to do now, it will continue to dictate what I do throughout my life. Right? Because how you walk the fire, how you look at any challenge, is a microcosm of how you do everything. Right? So you don't want to start walking the fire and say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. No, you don't stop in the middle. You don't turn around and go back. You walk straight, right? You walk straight ahead. The other very, very important thing, is that you look at where you're headed. You look at where you're headed. That's probably the biggest thing about it. You don't look down at the coals. You're not looking at the circumstance. You're not looking at the situation. You are looking at your destination and where it is you want to go. And that's what we did. We locked eyes with John Waterhouse and walked through those 12 steps, however long it took, to get to the end of that fire. And I don't think anyone had what he called the kiss on the bottom of their feet, a little blister. I don't think anyone got those. I didn't hear of anyone having one. I know I didn't. So spiritual community was what allowed those people, in their terror, in their fear, was that feeling of safety and security, and knowing that I have a whole community of people around me that are here to lift me and support me and catch me if I fall and take care of me. So reaching out. We all need to have those people in our lives that we feel we can be safe with. Right? That friend that you can tell anything to. Oh my gosh, Jesse Miller. It's going to make me cry. You all know I cry every time. And I felt better seeing John Waterhouse in action, because he cries every service at least 3 times. There was one day, and I don't remember what it was that I was going through. Jesse and I were having a conversation. And Jesse says to me, you're just one of those friends that I know. There is absolutely nothing that you could do. Nothing you could do. Nothing you could tell me about yourself, about your life, that would have me love you any less. Now, that's a friend, right? That's a real friend. When you have someone, and we hope that it's our parents that do that for us, but it's not always. It's not always. Right? It's not always our family that we can feel that sense of unconditional love, that I could do anything, that I could say anything, right? That I could make any mistake. I could maybe even do something on purpose. It would still be an error, right? If it hurt somebody else, it could still be an error. But to know that you are loved completely inside of all of that, that's safety. And that is something that we all crave as human beings, to feel like we all have that safe place we can go. And so if you didn't have it growing up, which a lot of us didn't, a lot of people didn't, you didn't have that sense of stability or that safety and security or that feeling like I am loved unconditionally, guess what? You can change that right now. You can change that. It doesn't matter what happened back. That was then. That was then. When we know better, we do better. This is today. This is a new day going forward. Right? And I hope that you all feel, the members, the people who come here right on a regular basis, that this is a safe place. That you could come here and you could say whatever, you could sit with me, you could sit with Gail, you could sit with Ken, with any of our practitioners, with Donna and Norma, and say whatever it is you need to say. Get that thing off your chest and know that you will be unconditionally loved and accepted no matter what. Everybody needs that. Everybody needs that. And we need to be that for other people. That talk is coming in about 2 weeks. Okay, so safe. So we're safe because we reach out. We reach out. And the last piece of this being safe in spirit is recognizing again that spirit that is bigger than us, that universe. None of us brought ourselves into this world. You may have brought yourself into this space, right? You didn't birth yourself. You're not even breathing yourself. Try to stop breathing. Try to stop breathing and realize that there is a force, there is a power that is breathing you right now. So we're here to recognize that power, that incredible presence that runs in and around and through all things, and that it is part of us. It is who we are. It is living and breathing and seeing and walking and talking and experiencing life through you. And through you, through each and every one of us, in a way that is absolutely and utterly unique to each individual. No one has ever been here that looked and was just like you. Never. And there never will be. There never will be another Gail Decant. There never has been, and there never will be another one. Right? Or a Donna Davis. Or a Jack Asselin. There will never be another one. So how is it that we remember this? How do we remember this? It's a very simple principle. What we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. I hope you're all familiar with that. Right? You're familiar with that? If you've taken classes, you're more familiar than others. But this is our modality. This is our way of praying and speaking and claiming our truth that creates the world that we want to live in. So affirmative prayer, it goes like this. Are you ready to receive? 5 steps. You can use your fingers. Are you ready to receive? In affirmative prayer, the first step is that we recognize there is only one God. There is only one presence. It is omniscient. It is omnipresent. It is omnipotent. All-powerful, all-knowing, everywhere present. How do you remind yourself of that? I love to be outside. I love to sit under big, beautiful oak trees or by like Silver River or just any place out in nature that reminds me that there is a whole great big giant world out there that is beyond me, that I didn't create, but yet I get to live in it, right? And I get to use the resources of that world, and the birds in the sky, they don't worry about where their next meal is coming from. They just eat. They know it's there, right? They don't toil. I'm not a Bible scholar, but you know that quote, right? They don't toil, they don't spin, but yet they have everything they need. So we know that. That's the recognition. The unification is, guess what? I am part of that. I am part of that magnificent presence. Right? Spirit is looking through my eyes right now, each and every one of you beautiful people. Listening through my ears. Walking, using my body. I am one with that power and presence. God in me as me. Then we make the claim for what is it that we want to experience. No, I don't want to look at the coals. I don't want to experience getting burned. I want to experience being in the arms of that loving, wonderful John Waterhouse and knowing that I am safe and made it to the other side. You want to look at your destination. What is it that you are claiming for yourself? If you're going through a tough time now, the money is tight, you're not going to stick around in that. You're not sticking around in it. You are claiming abundance. You claim prosperity. And you know that you are going to be there. Because this too shall pass. If you're brokenhearted, guess what? This too shall pass. Know and claim that you will find love, that you will experience that loving relationship and that intimacy and that whatever it is that you want to experience. If it's the job and you're not happy where you are, don't keep looking at circumstance. Know what it is that you want. And this is where most people fall short. You ask people, what is your vision? What's your goal? Right? And they'll say, well, I sure don't want to marry another loser. That's not what I asked you, is it? It's very easy. We know what we don't want. Sometimes it's a little harder to figure out what you do want. But that is the task, and that is what we do in spiritual mind treatment, is what is it that I want to experience? What is it? And knowing that it already exists, that it is there in this universe of possibility. It is there and has been waiting for you to claim it and step into it. That's the realization step. Then you give thanks. Then you give thanks knowing that it's already there. Right? That spirit and all of the infinite potential, all of its different possibilities, that possibility exists and it has been waiting for you to claim it. That's why we give thanks. Even before it gets here, you give thanks in advance. Right? When you give something to someone and they give you thanks, don't you feel full? Don't you feel happy? Right? You want to do more for them. What happens if you give someone a gift and they don't appreciate it? Norma says, last time they get something from me. So we give thanks because it expands our good. It expands our good. And then finally we let it go. We let go of the attachment. And we say, this or something better. This or something better. And realize that different things have different gestation periods, just like seeds. So you may not find that fabulous relationship. It could take you 10 years to step into that. It could take you 5 years to find that job that you want. Or it could happen tomorrow. We just don't know. But you stay on the goal. You stay on and you keep your eyes focused on what it is that you want to experience. The goal, the dream, the vision, not on the fire that's in front of you. Okay, so that is what spiritual mind treatment. Are you ready to receive? Recognition, unification, realization, thanksgiving, and finally release. And that is the third way that we can know that we are safe in spirit. So just to recap, to move this idea of safety from, I know it in my head, but now I know it in my heart, to reframe the situations that you have already been in. The things that hurt you, the things that you've been carrying, look for the nugget of good. Look for the blessing in that situation. And that will allow you to build and move forward from a positive space rather than a place of deficit or feeling lack. The next thing you want to do is reach out to people who can support you in that dream, in that goal, in that vision. Surround yourself with people who believe in your possibility and can hold that possibility and know that possibility for you in the moments when you forget. Right? In the moments when you're afraid, in the moments when you don't know how to do it, then you reach out to your spiritual community. You reach out to your loved ones. And then finally, you recognize, and these are no particular order, you recognize that spirit that runs in and around and through all things is right here, right now, walking, talking, breathing, speaking, living, loving life through you and through me in this very moment. And always, always, always remind yourself of that. Has this been useful for anybody?
Yes.